What's up, everybody? It's Jairo from the Grind Fitness Training Systems, and welcome to another topic. Okay, today we're going to talk about the rotator cuff resilience for combat athletes. First off, what is the rotator cuff? It's basically these four muscles. The four muscles are supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, subscapularis. Not really important to memorize any of these names, but basically understanding that there's four different muscles that give the shoulder joint integrity, and they're called the rotator cuff. So the reason why this is important, because of depending on what type of sport you do, whether you're a striker, whether you're a grappler, depends on how likely you are to actually be injured from either an acute injury and or overuse injury. I don't know about you, but I know off the top of my head, I know at least 4 or 5 people that have had some type of shoulder something from some type of striking, or they fell when they were wrestling, or they were throwing like a right hook and now they strained. It was like an impact from their shoulder. There's a bunch of different situations that I've heard of personally. So I'm sure if you're watching this video is definitely for you. Okay. Anyway, the goal here when we're talking about this is to make your shoulders durable and resilient. Okay. Why? Because in grappling, like I'm giving you an example here, the Kimura, the Americana in Jiu-Jitsu, if it's acute, you get injured. But you also will get injured if you're constantly doing that motion over and over and over and over and over again. So imagine if you did the Kimura drill every single day for a month and a half straight. You're going to stress the shoulder, one of the four shoulder muscles. Okay. Now, why are fighters at risk when it comes to this kind of stuff? Okay, because again, I already said it. Repetitive micro trauma, which is the example that I just gave you of doing the Kimura drill over and over again. Strength imbalances. So again, there's four muscles here. Not only with the four muscles, but there's also your pec muscle, your lat muscles, your actual superficial shoulder muscles. Any of those type of strength imbalances put stress on these muscles, which in turn will cause some type of ache or pain or stiffness or rigidity or one of those things that increases your risk of actually getting hurt. Okay? And then the very last one is pore centration. It's just a fancy way of saying being biomechanically efficient. So having joint movement as efficient, as powerful as possible. Okay? So how are you going to train, or key movements that you can do to build resilience? The first thing that you need to understand, and the most important one, is that it's not bodybuilding. You got to stop that. Whoever's watching this, like, stop bodybuilding if you're doing combat sports. It's not how you're supposed to train. Your goal is not to build muscle. Your goal is to make your body as resilient and as strong and as fast and powerful as possible so that you can do the heavy lifting, which is your combat sport. Okay, so understand that. Now, there's 2 different ways you can train this. This type of working, these type of movements or exercises, if you want to call them that, if you're already feeling some type of discomfort, pain, stiffness, achiness, stickiness, anything like that, you want to do these by themselves. If you're not, and you're already in the gym and you're doing the lifting that you're doing, whatever your program is, then you want to add these as either a warm-up or an in-between exercise, or a prep exercise, or a post exercise. Either way, you're doing these to build shoulder integrity and resilience. Okay, the very first one is high volume ER, which is external rotation, external rotation, external rotation, this way, external rotation. Okay, so you can do it a bunch of different ways. You can do banded. Let's say there's a band around each wrist and I'm doing external rotation. There's lying on my side with a dumbbell. There's a cable going from this way to do external rotation. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Do whatever you think is best. But high volume means that high rep count, sets of like 20, 25, 30, 40, even 50 reps. That type of volume. The second one you need to do is scapular retraction drills. The scapular is just your shoulder blades. Retraction just means this direction, right backwards, and isometrically, which means just holding that position. So the example that I put here are eyes Ys, and Ts. Okay, and you can make those more challenging by doing it on the hyperextension machine. A bunch of different ways you can do it. Just be creative. It's unlimited. The next one is overhead isometrics. So I put here kettlebell carries, just basically holding a kettlebell with one arm overhead and just walking. Okay, you're just forcing the shoulder girdle to be as efficient as possible for you to carry load dynamically while you move. Okay, and then the very last one is integrated movements. What that means is you're doing multiple planes, multiple directions, multiple muscles within the shoulder joint. So the one that I put here is face pull to overhead. So think of it this way: you're doing a face pull, you're doing retraction of the shoulder blade. You're then rotating up, you're doing external rotation at the shoulder. Then you're going overhead and you're doing shoulder flexion and elbow extension. At the same time, you're doing it under load and then you're reversing the motion. So you're doing multiple planes, multiple muscle tissue, all under load, which is what you want. Yeah, I hope that helped. Don't mess around with your shoulder joint because there's nothing worse than getting the shoulder. There is no certain, like, whoever sells you on a surgery, yeah, I haven't heard anyone ever have a positive effect to shoulder surgery. So you want to avoid hurting your shoulders at all costs. And there's knee surgery, there's hip surgery, but I've never heard anything positive from shoulder surgery. So adding this type of stuff within your regimen is so valuable that I can't even put a dollar amount on it, man. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you on the next video. If you have any comments, questions, anything like that, comment down below or shoot me a message if you don't want to put it out in public. Either way, appreciate you. See you on the next one.